Welcome, everybody, to the April 7th Select Board meeting. Will you join me?
Recording in progress.
But the business to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first up, Brian, you have the general fund warrants.
I do have the general fund warrant. It's that here. It is dated April 3rd, 2025. The total amount is $116,595.19. Items of note. Just about 25% of it, or about $29,000, is for our agreement. They are paying AmCare. Another 29%, or roughly $33,700 per usual, is for Blue Cross Blue Shield for insurance. The rest, there's things like tree service and repair for our maintenance crew. So with that said, I would make a motion that we approve the general fund warrant as presented for $116,595.19.
Perfect. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Jack, you have the miscellaneous warrants. There should be two.
Stormwater utility warrant in the amount of $147. And industrial park warrant in the amount of $385. And I move we approve those.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Jeff, you have the payroll.
Yep, I have 3 payroll warrants this round, and I'll just give the dates and the amounts. So we have a warrant dated March 21st of 2025, and that is in the amount of $27,149.74. And then we have one, just looking at this. Yep, dated March 28th. And that one is in the amount of $44,684.08, and that includes the checks to the agency. And that's why that one's bigger. And third and lastly, we have one dated April 4th of 2025, and that one's in the amount of $28,872.92. And I would make a motion that we approve these.
Second that.
Perfect. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. So in your packets, you have the minutes from March 17th.
Mhm.
There was no 3-3 in the packet, so we'll just, I'll take a motion to approve those minutes from 3/17, please.
So move.
Second, anyone?
Oh, second that.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public comment. Would anybody in the audience, or we'll start in the audience for public comment? Yeah, come on up, state your name. We'll give you 3 minutes.
Is the 3 minutes for me to speak or for everyone to answer questions?
We don't usually have a Q&A session with public comment. I
Okay,
mean, if
well,
somebody,
I would like to, sorry, my name is Erin Sullivan. I would like to discuss the public indecency ordinance. But I guess since we don't take questions at public comment, I will ask, who is the designated member of the select board that can speak on ordinances? I sent an email and Brian, thank you for replying and saying that you couldn't speak on behalf of the board. I do appreciate that. However, I do have concerns with the public indecency ordinance, and it didn't seem like my voice was being heard. So who can speak to that?
do you want to take this, seems how you were last to respond via email, or we're not?
I can, yeah. I responded to Nick Sullivan plenty of times.
Yes, and I had different concerns and questions than Nick did.
Sure.
In fact, Tyler Sullivan's on the call. We could be related too. He could be my husband, since you want to group me in with other people whose last name is Sullivan.
What are your concerns, Erin? Okay,
I
so
want to know
you're-
why we
please.
are only policing the female nipple I find male nipples indecent and I'd like to extend the ordinance to all genders. So I just want to know how that fits in with public indecency.
Brian, when we talked about it, you mentioned that Supreme Court case, I think it was.
Yeah, Aaron, I mean, just a little bit of background, I'll keep it short. The purpose of the indecency ordinance really has to do with,
I know it's for a specific person.
no, that's not what I was going to say. It has to do with children. Okay, so this extends to the Bay Park, Cohen Park, sidewalks, public areas. And as I thought about it, I'm thinking of a mother walking with their child and not being able to expect to be in the town park or walk on the rail trail and not have anyone naked walking down the road, right? Now, in your email, you brought up an interesting point, as I went through. I mean, I think that we can in our town have this where we don't have nude people walking around where there's children.
Correct.
Okay. In your email, you brought up I thought a good point. Is it legal to even have an ordinance that separates people by the sexes? And that's interesting. And as I went through, I spent probably too much time on a weekend looking through and found some interesting things, right? So, until the 1930s, it was unacceptable for men to be without a shirt on, right? And I found it interesting. In the 30s, they started to liberalize that. Found it interesting in Cosmopolitan article of 2023, that when polled, more women are against the female nipple being shown than men are, which is interesting. Then I did find a court case in New Hampshire, right, where this came up and went to the New Hampshire Supreme Court, which decided that it was okay to have a law like that. The U.S. Supreme Court decided not to take it on because they affirmed it.
Yep.
Just saying, and as I looked at it, it's a lot of it comes down to social mores and social norms. I don't think the St. Albans town wants to, at this point, take a position to try to press this issue in such a way where most people would think that's really not encapsulating their feelings about it. I would think if social mores change, we would look at the ordinance and change it. But I think at this point, I would be in favor of letting this, as it's written, go so that it become effective, because we have heard from other people who watch sometimes naked people standing on the rail trail on Route 7 while school buses are going by. I don't know anyone who thinks that's okay. And so that's what this ordinance to me is about. It's about children. For adults, if people want to walk around naked on their own property, that's great. If people want to do that, in front of adults only, that's fine. The intention here was to honestly protect children. From the meeting that it came up about breastfeeding, and you also know, if you watched it, that it has nothing to do with breastfeeding. This had
I
nothing
do
to do with
understand
it.
that,
So,
yes.
and I'll stop there. I know we have a lot of business. I don't want to infringe anyone else's time.
Okay, so going forward, if I have additional questions or concerns, how can I talk about that with somebody?
I would just say you could ask me, you could ask any one of us. I won't speak on behalf of the entire board unless that's okay. If I'm answering a question as I just did, then I'm happy to do that.
Okay, so if I send specific questions to the select board, I'll get a response? Because I also asked the town clerk who polices our department or our town, and I didn't get a response until I asked for the tax bill, which I didn't need. I just needed to know that somebody would answer me.
She was also on vacation until this past Tuesday.
I mean, realistically, in my eyes, the majority of the questions should go to the town manager. He's aware of
Sure.
what we're
Yep.
doing and what we're not doing. And so we just set the policy, like he kind of tells us what the needs are in the community, what's the need of staff. And so he recommends a policy, and we add stuff to him. Sometimes we don't, sometimes we do.
So,
So
Sean, if I
can I
had,
finish? If you're gonna interrupt me, I'm gonna stop it right here. I'm not gonna put up with it.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. So I would highly recommend you to reach out to Sean. We're just here a couple times a month. Sean does the day-to-day stuff, and and I read some of the emails, and if you get frustrated with the response, I mean, feel free to reach out to legal like he told you to. or
Well,
something.
I didn't get a response
Hold
from
on.
John. Oh, it's okay.
Okay.
I'm good.
You're finished. Thank you. Go ahead, David.
I'm David Braid, Town of St. Albans. Just a couple of quick questions. On the voting, is it, does the town set if we do mail-in votes, or is that set by the governor? And if it could be set by the town, is there an exorbitant cost to doing something like that? Because I just looked at the numbers between 2 years ago when I ran, and I think we had mail-in votes at that time, and there was over 2,000 people that voted.
Mhm.
And I think in the last election, it was only like a little over maybe 900.
Mhm.
And it just seemed we could do a better job of including more people in a town, but I don't know how cumbersome that might be, and if the town has the authority or has to go through the governor.
So I believe the Secretary of State
Yeah.
allows decides whether or not you can do the mail-in voting, which I think they allow it. But I think that time you ran, and don't quote me on this, but I think the state mailed out the ballots. Was that true?
I wasn't here.
I remember one voting cycle that the state mailed them all out, or sent or paid for it, whatever it was.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I know we've discussed it, from time to time, but
Yeah.
I remember one time it was too late when we decided that we wanted to do it. So
Okay,
it's always in my mind because you're not wrong. It does create a higher voter turnout, I'm sure.
Much higher,
Much higher. It
Yeah,
probably
much higher.
doubles. And then during a general election, it's
Mhm.
triples it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Al, did you have a statement to that?
No, just the very last vote we had, they were mailed out by the county. Ballots.
Oh, the November one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, not town meeting. Oh, not town meeting. Yeah, the general.
Anybody else for a public comment? Anybody on Zoom? Okay, hearing none, we're gonna move forward. Would somebody like to make a motion to recess the select board meeting and convene as the local cannabis control board?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we have in front of us Druid Flowers. Was this just a renewal?
Yeah.
So they're in
It is.
Franklin Park West anyway.
Yeah,
right, Beth?
indoor cultivator only,
Okay.
I think.
So would somebody make a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second.
Perfect. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, would somebody like to make a motion to recess the local cannabis control board and convene as the liquor control board?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Oh, found one. We have quite a few. I'll just read them off here. Anna said there's no infractions on any of these renewals. So we have Walmart for a second-class license, Hannaford, second-class license, Kinney Drugs, second-class license, Burton Island Bistro for a second-class license, St. Marie Enterprises for a second class and a tobacco license, Mill River Brewing for a first, third, and outside consumption permit, Mill River Brewing Tap House for a first-class license and an outside consumption permit. Would somebody make a motion to approve those 11 licenses?
Yep, second that. Mr. Chair.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So.
Excuse me, who made the motion? Because someone's not speaking into their microphone. I'm only getting the second.
Jack made the motion, Brian seconded, and all passed, I think.
Thank you.
Would somebody make a motion to close the liquor control board and reconvene as the select board?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, perfect. Next up. We have the volunteer appointments. Let me scroll down. So we're not gonna do the review board. Is it the review board? No, we're not
No,
doing the
planning
planning
commission.
commission, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll just read them off. And if somebody wants to make do we have to do them individually?
I don't-
Yes,
You do?
you should, because there's different terms.
As the terms. are
Oh,
different,
yeah.
right? Okay.
Some of them are 3, some of them
So,
are 1, and you have to do the
Starting off
911
for,
coordinator.
Development Review Board, terms expiring in 2028. Mike McInerney, Ellen Baker and Brett Brigham. Somebody like to make a motion to appoint those? Three.
Well, Brent's would be different, but I would like to motion to approve Mike McCurney and Ellen Baker for terms expiring 2028.
Thank you.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And so, thank you for that, Amanda. Brent Brigham is just gonna fill a 1-year remainder of a 3-year term belonging to Tom Stanhope. Somebody make a motion to appoint Brett.
So moved.
Yep, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And we still have a vacant position as an alternate for the Development Review Board, in case anybody watches the meeting. Northwest Regional Planning Commission, 2 positions for 1 year. Ending in 2026. Megan Sherlin, Community Development Director, and Marietta Schulten are both requesting appointment. If somebody make a motion to appoint Megan Sherlin and Marietta.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Second for Jack. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Next up, NRPC Clean Water Advisory Committee. That's 1 position for 1 year. And Sean Atkins is jumping up and down and wants to be reappointed.
Done a hell of a job.
Yeah, I know, doing good work over there. Somebody make a motion to appoint Sean, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Transportation Advisory Council, 1 position and 1 alternate for 1 year. Dave Allerton for the position and the alternate would be John Monte. Some,
Keep him on.
Second that.
thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect.
It means you
Northwest,
can't retire.
Northwest Communications Union District, 1 position and 1 alternate for 1 year. Robert Warner is requesting appointment, and I believe we don't have an alternate as of right now. Somebody like to make motion to appoint Robert?
I did, I'll make that motion.
Jack made the motion. Second, anybody?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Northwest Vermont Solid Waste Management District, it's 1 position for 1 year, and Al Vogel is can't wait to be back there for 1 year.
I'll make
So
that motion too, because he's really knocking them dead up there.
No,
Not a
we're just gonna appoint you.
Pointing.
We don't want you to slow down, Al.
I think Jack made the motion. I'll second that.
Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Northwest Vermont Rail Trail Council, it's 1 position for 1 year. Robert Bassett is requesting a reappointment. Does anybody make that motion to appoint Robert?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next up, Tree Warden. Somebody appoint Jack Brigham to that position, please.
I'll make a motion to appoint Jack Brigham to that position for 1 year.
Thank you.
I'll second. It's perfect for him.
All in
We're
favor?
on it all day.
Aye.
Duties today.
Historic Preservation Committee, that's 5 positions for 1 year. We're gonna have 3 vacant ones, but Donna Delorier and Liz Reardon are requesting reappointment. Somebody make a motion to appoint Donna and Liz to those positions? Thank you, Jen.
Second,
Thank you. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Parks and Rec Committee, there's 4 positions. There's only 2 seeking reappointment. It's Kevin Lawler and Michael Forrester. Somebody make a motion to appoint Kevin and Michael to the Parks and Rec Committee?
So move. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. And we have Memorial Wall Committee, but that's still vacant.
What would the Memorial Wall Committee do?
Pictures in the hallway.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll talk to him about, we should talk about that and see if we can come up with anybody
I think we should look at that. Yeah.
in general.
Yeah. No. On the committee to decide. Yeah.
Right, okay. Go back. That's it for appointments, I do believe.
And they have to make
911 coordinator.
a job now.
So John Knox is our new full-time assessor. I don't know, he's not, and so we gotta, according to the 911 stuff in the state of Vermont, we gotta appoint somebody. Currently Sean is, so if somebody would like to appoint John Knox as the 911 coordinator for the town of St. Albans.
I'll make that motion. We won't have met him.
He's in.
Second,
Okay, all in
Okay.
favor?
Right.
aye.
Right. You. Okay, Tim, you're up. You're welcome, man.
Hey.
I was gonna, I hope this goes better than the last.
Like, you know what? You took the words out of my mouth. I was gonna say something, but I said, I'll let you break the ice.
Yeah. I didn't know whether to comment, but.
But you could have made a memorable entrance.
By,
Well, the ordinance isn't in effect for another few weeks,
oh,
but thank you for.
I missed that full
Thank you.
discussion
Sorry.
too.
Sorry, Tim.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. I know everyone I met earlier. We talked about FCIDC and what we're doing, and Sean and I are trying to meet monthly to talk about a number of different things. With me today are Mark LaRoe and Maureen Brown, both town residents that serve on the FCIDC board. Kevin Manahan is another town resident that serves. This is a 4th one. Oh yeah, Andy Crossman.
Yeah.
Leon.
Leanne Berthroom now, yeah, so there's 5 reps on. I do not live in town now, no. Oh, Leanne does, he lives up on by Pillsbury, up on that development. So 5 out of our 18 board members are town reps. So a couple of things, obviously, we finally had our first groundbreaking and successful project with Purpose Energy up in the industrial park. That's up and operating, and that's a nice addition. We're also, I hope we're going to sign a purchase and sale agreement this week for the sale of 20 acres for future, to build a future spec building. We hope that will come to fruition here in the next week. So no, we're not going to build. There's another developer who will be looking at building that. Although FCIDC is looking, we have a meeting on Wednesday to discuss a spec building as well for a smaller one, 15,000 square feet. So there could be some good.
That's in the, I'm sorry, Tim, that's in the industrial park?
Yeah, in the industrial park, yep. So that would be, if we were to sell the 20 acres, that will allow us to finish the infrastructure. If we choose to go, we're having a couple of different discussions, but we could potentially finish putting water and sewer, roads, sidewalks, and then pave it again. So that's a discussion we'd like to have with you down the road about potentially taking over that once we pave it a second time, and we've built it out according to state specs. So the other, so that's another one. I know Sean came and spoke to our board about doing a high quality video. It's not just for the park. Sean is
No, that's.
It's for the whole city, yeah, or whole town. Yep.
It's gonna include the city as well.
Yeah, so we just started that conversation. So those are some of the things that we have going on. The big conversation locally is a future closure of Perigo. Obviously, both many communities in the county have residents who work at Perigo. We're optimistic that something will come of that. The plant has sold twice previously. It sold Wyeth to PBM and PBM to Perigo. So we're hoping that there is some possibilities there as well. 2 years will go by pretty quickly in terms of trying to find a solution for that. So that's where we're at. A lot of conversations going on about what could be done there, subdivide some land, market land for future growth and whatnot. So it's pretty up in the air right now as to what the future is.
Build something down around Essex. Neighbors is already having a fit.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Amazon,
So,
an Amazon distribution center.
we try to get them.
Well, so we use Brad Worthen. He's a realtor, and that's who we have an exclusive listing with. He's with Pomelo, and he already asked about the exact same thing, and he is reaching out, sort of watching to see how it plays out in Essex, but will be pitching the town industrial park if need be. Yeah. So definitely on the radar. So we'll see what happens in Essex. I don't know if anyone has any questions for me. I'm trying to, throughout the region, the question I thought you were going to ask, Brian, was we have no vacant buildings in Franklin County. The two we have is the old Swan Valley or Lucille Farms building in Swanton, and then the older Vermont brick building up in Highgate off from 78. Both are in dire need of capital investment for sure. So if we were to build us as well as the potential for the other spec building, that could be big for Franklin County for sure to attract new business. We have had calls regarding Canadian businesses looking to relocate, not relocate, but to locate a portion of their business in Vermont or Franklin County because of the tariffs. One couple of them are assembly, so they would ship down parts and pieces and assemble them for their products down here. So I know the tariffs aren't and haven't enamored a lot of people to them, but Franklin County could benefit in some form or fashion with Canadian businesses come, and historically that's where all of our growth has mainly been from Canadian businesses as well. So if you look at Barry Callebaut was a Canadian business originally, Peerless Clothing, Mylan started out as a Canadian business. So we have the opportunity, and many others, not just those, but. So.
I had a question about the Perigo though. You said that it might be sold again to someone else, but isn't the building, aren't they leaving it because it's run down and it's not worth updating?
Whoever buys is going to have to make a substantial capital investment for sure. It's probably more the equipment's outdated than the building. Although the building is not your ideal manufacturing building because there's so many broken up. It's almost like many offices, quality control, chemistry, all that. And it's not your basic manufacturing plant like a Ben & Jerry's or a Barry Callebaut where the machines are put in place. It's a different process for sure. So it will make it more difficult for an entity to come in and do what you might call traditional manufacturing for sure. what I've heard is that it could be good, it could be utilized for a brewery. Is one example that we've been told. And that's, they're not as dependent as baby formula in terms of quality control and whatnot. So there are options, but in terms of baby formula, Amanda, you're right. I mean, it's 40, the plant's 40 years old. Initially back in 2021, they were going to build a brand new building or brand new facility on their back 20 acres. About the same time as when they bought the plant in a Nestle's plant in Wisconsin, and they put the Georgia project on hold. And it appears that was a telltale sign where they were going to redirect their investment to Nestle's and build out that new plant. So
Yeah, to that point, Tim, I mean, I was talking with the corporate folks at Perigo, and that was kind of the story, right? Because they've got the one in Wisconsin, then they've got one in Indiana or something like that.
Ohio.
You know, when it comes time to reinvest, Vermont's last on the list, right?
not a business
It
friendly
makes
state.
makes it easier. It's less expensive to do in Wisconsin or Ohio or wherever, you know, it's.
Yeah.
And this is what happens.
No,
right? This is what happens.
it sure does come into play. Conversations there for sure. Just like many of the other manufacturers, they're finding trouble finding help. Other parts of the country are not necessarily the same way. But so
Have you ever applied or thought about applying for FTZ around here,
the free trade zone,
the foreign trade zone? Yeah.
that Perigo is part of one. So it's a subzone.
Okay.
Perigo is, so that could be a
Yeah.
potential selling point. It's a subzone of the airport.
Okay.
And then,
Can you tell me, can you give me more detail what that means? So Perigo and areas around it have
Yeah, so-
special consideration?
foreign trade zone, like, is, so if you're manufacturing something.
Yep.
Let's say, and we'll use baby formula, for example, they could bring in milk from Australia and not have duty or tariffs on that. So it comes into this area, customs controls the foreign trade zone, they monitor it. And then once a product's made and then it's shipped out, so that the cost is less, you don't have the duty on what's coming into the product, and then it can be shipped back out of that location. Century Arms also has it in Georgia.
Do we know, is that still going to have supremacy over the new tariffs, or would that cancel
Yeah,
it
it's
out?
always been,
Yeah.
they've always been a thing.
Okay.
Yeah, even with
Right.
tariffs or without. They're pretty unique because you can do it for just even a portion of a warehouse
Yep.
type of
Right.
thing. So
That
it
should
doesn't
give
need to be the whole
That
property.
that location a premium then?
That's why I asked. It's like,
Huh.
It would
I'll take
help, although there's been, and I don't think anyone really knows the answer with the new tariffs. But there's been foreign trade zones. There's been one up in the Northeast Kingdom, and they didn't get any bites on that at all. It actually went dormant.
Hmm.
This one could be a potential moving forward for sure. So to your point, Sean, Century Arms just got approved for a foreign trade zone.
Mhm.
And within their 100,000 square foot warehouse, they have a fenced off area, I don't know, maybe 10,000 square feet.
Yep.
Where they have guns come in and they dismantle them and then ship them back out. But they do have a foreign trade zone within their building. So it can be partial, it can be the entire property as well. So. Maureen, you wanna share anything? Put you on the spot. And I don't know anything about housing.
How's it?
That was my last
That was
discussion.
last year.
Mhm.
Thought you'd have a bunch built, but you.
So I don't, if you got any questions on, and like I said, Sean and I are trying to meet once a month. It doesn't always work out, but and we invested the ARPA dollars for the revolving loan fund or the business fund. So that's been taken care of, and we're gonna
Work on that.
that's one on our agenda to talk about how that sugars off. So. Yep. All righty.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Ethan. See you Friday.
Okay. Well, looks like you're up, Sean.
Yeah. Dave. DPW update. You want to get the winter operations policy out of the way or just do that after the update? It's up to you.
Doesn't matter to me. I've got 5 things I wanted to go over with everybody.
Make it quick.
You got 3 minutes.
I'm done. Well, I want to go through the latest DPW update, talk about all the projects that we've got going on. I want to talk to you about the recent auction that we held or the items that we auctioned off and how much money we made back from that. I've also included, I think in your packet, the DPW to-do list I got for the guys this summer. Plenty of work to do. And then wanted to briefly go over the stormwater management plan that we have and just kind of discuss some of the major topics there and how we're trying to move forward with that. And then we can talk about the winter operations guidelines, which is just kind of an update from what we had before. So I'll try to be fast. Although I know DPW stuff doesn't always go fast once we get into it. So anyway, just for the DPW update, winter seems to be winding down. I know we got some snow coming tomorrow, but just to update you and everybody, the road crew's been out for 64 days, plowing 64 separate days. So that's a lot, been doing a lot of tree trimming around town too. Was out with Jack this morning, our newly appointed tree warden, looking at some of the Emerald Ash borer issues that we've got going on around town. And actually, if you just look out this window here, you can see a whole slew of them that we own right over there that are all dying because of the bug. And we've also got them down in the Bay Park and at Cohen Park. It's really sad at Cohen Park. Anyway, we're gonna have to start dealing with those. But we did go through the process. I've got 4 tree trimming companies under contract with us now. So we're gonna kind of spread that work out as we can and try and slowly tackle some of this stuff. It's not all going to get done in 1 year. We'll just kind of put together a plan for every year. We'll do the worst ones, I guess, and the ones that we think are going to make it another year with Jack's help. We'll take in subsequent years.
I got a question. Are we planting trees back in their place?
Yes, we're going to have to.
And so what would that be? What type of tree?
It's like in parks.
So
No, but like
In
parks,
parks,
you know?
yeah.
So that's the question, is we want to put some kind of trees, especially down at Cohen Park. Those trees are really important for everybody that goes down there and enjoys the lake. They need the shade, right? So we need to put some other kind of tree in there that's not going to get killed by this bug and that's still going to give us a canopy. So what type of tree that is yet to be determined. The tree trimming companies that we've got on board have arborists on staff. So we will work with them and we'll work with Jack, and then we're going to contact the individual you mentioned this morning. And we'll figure out a plan for removing the trees and putting other trees back in. One thing I don't want to do, especially down at Cohen, is go down there and just take out all those trees at once. That would just be devastating, I think, for the coming summer.
Dead.
Right.
Some are hanging on.
Right. So we'll take out the bad ones and we'll try and plant some new ones. And then, next year we'll probably have to take out some more and plant some more. And it's just kind of be an ongoing thing until we can get it all back. So I'm not a tree expert. That's why we enlist tree experts.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, that's the person we're going to.
Super nice guy.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's the chair of the Montgomery. Yeah. Board, yeah.
let's see, just to hit some of the main points. We started looking at the parks and rec staff that we had last year to try and get some of those to come back on board for us. So you talked about the tree service guys. We did a request for proposals to get somebody to repair the guardrail. We've got, right now, there's 13 areas around town that have guardrail that needs to be replaced. Plus there's the latest one that got smashed by a single vehicle accident. So we've got the police report on that one. We got the cost on that one. So we'll be able to, once we get it fixed, we'll be able to go back to get reimbursed from their insurance company for at least that one. Well, there's only one company in the state that does it. That's Lafayette Highway Specialties. I went through the process to go out to bid, and we advertised it and everything to see if there would be anybody else. I've known from past experience, they're the only ones out there, but I thought it might be worth giving a try to see if there is somebody else out there, but nobody else bid on it. So they are who we get. See, a week or two ago, we hired N.A. Menage to come out and pump out the septic system at the Bay Park. So not only did we have them pump it out, I had them clean it out, and I had them video the inside of it because I want to know where the pipes come into it, where they go out, because from my understanding, we don't really have an idea of where all those pipes are. So this is going to help us. I don't have the report yet. I don't have their videos yet, but the tank appeared to be in good condition. One of the things we wanted to do was try and get rid of that doghouse that's sitting on top of half of that tank, just because the kids climb all over it in the summertime, and we're just kind of concerned that somebody might get hurt. Plus the thing is just falling apart and it needs work. So one option, I don't think we can get rid of the tank. Apparently what happened in the past, maybe you guys already know this, but the wastewater from the stone house would go into this concrete tank. And there's like a baffle in there, it runs like a septic tank. And then there was a pump on the other end that pumped it out underneath the road and over into the swamp area. Over there, there's a distribution box in that berm that was built up there that's got plugged up old clay tiles in there now. So apparently that wasn't working. And then somebody in the past went in and put in another, I guess, a more modern septic tank, but it still runs through that old tank. It runs through the old tank and into the new tank, and then it gets pumped to a leach field that's out underneath where the farmer's market is now on the, I guess it'd be the north side of the stone house, not the lake side, the other side. So anyway, we're just want to make sure we have an understanding of that. And I wanted to make sure that that concrete tank was in good shape. So apparently it is. Somebody said they thought it was poured in place. I have no idea how old the thing is.
They put a camera in there, right?
Oh, the camera in somebody's hand who was down in there cleaning it out. Yep. Because we had the whole thing cleaned out, not just pumped out. We had somebody go in there and shovel it and scrub it and everything. Because I wanted to know where the pipes were, how big they were, just for moving forward.
Put the new leach field. It came in, probably the new tank.
Yep.
All at once. I think it was maybe 2010 to 12 somewhere.
Did you get a permit for that? Okay, just
I
checking.
think we got it from the town health office.
Okay.
It's a lot better than the one that comes in the swamp.
Yeah. There's still the motor was still in that one side of the tank, but the pump was not in there. But anyway, I guess one option to get rid of that doghouse is to put a flat cover on it with like a Bilco hatch, just a hatch, a manway. The doghouse covers the west side of the tank. So it's only on half of the tank. They're going in.
Yeah, we should.
I mean, it's partly, it's half concrete up there. There's kind of a shelf in there, and then the other half is open. But yes, somebody could potentially. Well, that's what we're thinking, is we could put a concrete cover on top of there with the Bilco hatch, which is just like a hatch that you see on standard water storage tanks. Because there is an area that's got stairs in it. Inside, well, it's a ladder, I guess is a better description. And that's where you would put this.
Find any bolts or nothing?
No, but there was old 7-Up bottles, there was busted up pipe, there was a lot of stuff. Yeah. I got some pictures if you're interested.
Looks creepy.
So anyway, let's see, just to keep moving on, we're applying for the Class 2 paving grant for Kellogg Road. We want to try and finish the rest of that off. As far as paving goes, since I brought that up, I'm going to have that out probably real soon here. Oh, here it is. So we want to do a section of French Hill Road from Westview up to the area that was paved, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago near Anna's house, if you know where
So
that
you're
is.
Are you going down?
We're going,
Take it right down?
we're going to do just like what we did on the other side. We're going to dig the whole thing. We're going to do what's called reclaiming.
Right, that worked good up there on the
Yep.
top.
Because we dig it out like 12 inches. All of that gets recompacted in there. And then we put 4 inches of new asphalt on top of that.
Yeah.
We'll, like 2.5 inches of type 2 on the base, and then 1.5 inches of type 4 on top, the wearing course. So,
That was not the problem. Go in one car width. In the spring, it was really bad.
yes.
Just put pavement over that.
Yep. We were up there the other day, and the work that we did up there made it through the winter just fine. And the 2 culverts we replaced up there, no issues with those. So then I want to do Kellogg Road from where we left off last year all the way to Lower Newton. That's if we get the grant. If we don't get the grant, we'll hold off on that one. Perry Road is coming up. That's a narrow road. It's only 19 feet. And then Hill Farm Estates, Cedar Hill. And then we want to repair this section over here, Little County Road, that's got the big dip in it. We're going to cut that out. Our guys can do most of that work. We can cut it out. We can rebuild the sub base, and then we'll have a small paving contractor come in and put the 4 inches down that we need. Yeah, that's yes, it is. Because there's that short little section that goes up to that little cul-de-sac up there. Yep. I don't know.
That one's been a long time. That one's, it connects to like Charbonneau.
Charbonneau Road is up
Yeah.
there. Yep.
Yeah. Just past Harbor View.
I know where it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also I want to do some crack sealing. McQuam Shore could use crack sealing. Lower Newton Road could use some crack sealing from, McQuam up to the V-Trans Road. And then also want to do some, it's called fog seal. It's, people get their driveways seal coated, but you can do this fog seal that actually penetrates into the pavement. And that's what I want to do at Cohen Park and out at the DPW garage. We've got some cracks that have started out there at the DPW garage. And I just want to catch it before it gets real bad. But, with all those trucks that drive on it all the time, just want to take care of it so we don't have to dig it up and redo it. Yep.
Bad.
Yeah. And it hasn't been done for, I'd have to look, but it's been like 15, it's been a long time. There's just a few houses, and I don't have that cost estimate here with me, but it's not that much. It's only 19 feet wide. We would just do what's called a mill and fill there. We'll grind out 1.5 inches and then put another 1.5 inches down. But it does have some cracks in there. We do drive the plows on it, obviously, to plow it. And, once the roads start cracking up and we start driving them with plows, we start beating it up a little more. So just want to stay ahead of it.
Who does that fog coating?
So there's a couple companies, a company called Nikon could do that. And then there's a company called Indus.
That dry in like a day or?
They told me it's like about an hour. And I was like, really? I said, the seal coating guys around here say to stay off of it for like 24 hours or so. But because they use it for roads too. And if you're doing it for a road, you got to open up the road pretty fast, right? So you can't close off the road for long. So So I've got the specs on the material from them. So that's something I want to get moving on here too soon. So talked about those. I went through kind of a training session with some of the staff and Sean on what I called the anatomy of a project, which is essentially how you take a project from beginning where you're just thinking it out and the process for going through the scoping, the design, get it out to bid, and just all the legal details that you have to go through for these big projects. Because I'm just trying to pass that knowledge on to everybody. We have to do, in fact, I'm going through it right now. We'll talk about it in a second with the Fairfax Street culvert project. We went out to bid. I got a contractor. I gave them a notice of award. Now they can go get their performance and payment bonds. And then they can come back and we can sign the contract, give them the notice to proceed, and then they can start getting their ducks in a row to start building the thing. And then we will be out there watching it too and keeping notes on everything that's going on and watching the quantities. The next one down, it's at the west end of the cemetery. Yeah, that culvert is collapsing and it's a 30-inch culvert. It's rusted out. You can see the holes in it. All the old metal ones are rusting out. But this one really needs to be bigger too. So we're putting in an 8-foot aluminum arch culvert in there. So that'll work good for us in there. Revise that. I'm going to talk about that in a bit. So last fall, after we did the paving, I also put an RFP out there to get somebody to stripe some of our roads. But we ran out of time and the weather got us, but they're going to be back in the spring. So we're going to be doing like, I think it's Bronson Road. We'll do the section of Kellogg that we paved last year. We're going to do this section right out here from Lake Road to the Five Corners area over here. And there's a couple more parts of French Hill. I'm not going to do the part that we're going to grind up this year, but we'll do the rest of it. And there's another one out there somewhere that we're going to do. I know there was 5 of them. So
Yeah, because the Five Corners spot, there's no stop line anymore. I mean, people didn't stop when there was a line, but now there's not even a line. So it's like, do whatever you feel like.
it is kind of but it's not a high crash site.
Yeah.
So that's why you kind of leave well enough alone, right? I am going to get out another contract to do, it's not line striping, but it's to put in the stop bars and the crosswalks, because we've got some crosswalks we need to do. And all the stop bars are just worn off everywhere in town. So we'll just get all those painted up too. We're just going to really pretty up the town.
Good.
Let's see, we did the annual MS4 report. We got that submitted by April 1st. So they should be happy with us. And we're working on a RFP. John's been working on one to get inspections and general maintenance done on all of our HVAC equipment for the town.
All of our buildings under one maintenance
Fire
contract.
department included?
Everybody, yeah.
Yep.
Great.
So we can talk about some of the projects now. The Tanglewood Stormwater Project, that's in winter shutdown right now, but I do expect them to probably be starting up here pretty soon. I just haven't heard back from them yet. We've made good progress. I don't know if anybody's been out there to take a look at that. I know Amanda's been out there, but it's looking good. It'll be good. The Clyde Allen Drive project. I guess I should also say, since people might be listening, we do have a grant to do that project, $459,000 grant. And then the rest of it's going to get paid through the stormwater utility, which is like 161,000 roughly. On Tanglewood.
Clyde Allen.
Oh, on Clyde Allen is another gravel wetland. Yeah. So yeah, we can move on to Clyde Allen. That one, got a $360,000 grant to do that project. And, the stormwater utility will pay $190,000 of that. We're still waiting on this wetlands permit. it's kind of an issue because we're building a gravel wetland that's already in a mapped wetland, but so, it's kind of it's on the south side of the brook there, and between the brook and the Vermont State Housing Authority building. It's in that little grassy area. Well, it's going to collect the water coming off of the road and the houses, and we're also running a pipe from the easternmost side of Clyde Allen Drive through a couple of homes, the backyards, and we'll pipe that into the gravel wetland too. And the deal is, I can't remember the number, but we get phosphorus credits for that. Part of this MS4 thing and the phosphorus control plan is we need to try and remove, the number's like 69 kilograms of phosphorus a year, something like that. And every one of these projects gives us a little bit. So by 2036, we're supposed to have them all done. And like we told them, we only do them if we get the grants. So, and so far we've got grants. I suppose there could come a year where we don't get any grants, and then it's like, okay, well, we won't be able to do probably construction, but
Scoping.
yeah, we can do the scoping and the designs and get them ready to go. So that's kind of where we'll talk about some of those here when I get to the end of this. The French Hill Culvert Replacement Project, that one went out to bid, and we've got a contractor on board to do that one. And that's going to be replacing that. It's another steel culvert that's in really bad shape up there. The road was just kind of collapsing, and we put some Band-Aids on it just to get us through the winter.
Down in there, so.
Yeah.
It's pretty square.
Yeah, and we're going to get a box culvert put in there, so we'll be in good shape when that one gets done. And okay, and then the Fairfax Street culvert one, that one I got a small grant to do that one, and that's the one I talked about. We're putting in the aluminum arch, and both of these culverts are going to be constructed in the summertime because we're going to have to shut the roads down completely, and we don't want to mess with any of the bus schedules. So if we can get it done before school starts again, we'll be in good shape. And that was kind of it was a requirement of the project to get it done before school starts in the fall. Gricebrook Stormwater Project, we've kind of run into a snag there. We weren't able to find a place to actually put a pond in there at this point. So we've completed the preliminary engineering report, but we're still trying to figure out the best way to move the water that is flowing through there and then into the Sash and over to Tanglewood. And one option might be to kind of split the water, get some of it to go over into Stevens Brook and some of it to Rug Brook, and instead of all of it. But it also involves ditching in the field there, which is a privately owned field. So that one's just kind of on hold until we can figure it out. The McQuam Shore Stormwater Study, we're still looking at that one, and we don't have the final report completed just yet. And that's the one where we're trying to figure out how we can slow some of the stormwater and even groundwater coming from the roads and from some of the farms back behind there, how we can slow that down and mitigate that. We've got a couple of projects, we got this one, this East-West Basin Scoping Study. Those are two stormwater projects that would be up by exit 19. And the intent with those is to slow down and reduce the velocity and the quantity of water coming down the hill that's actually running through the Sash and over into Tanglewood. So, Tanglewood, and I think I mentioned it before, we got the stormwater is a global issue. It's not this development or that development kind of thing. So we're trying to, the East and West Basin projects will be the upgrading projects that need to be done. Tanglewood is kind of in the middle of the projects that need to be done, but that's where we were when I came on board. So we're going to get that one done. And I'm also looking at getting the scoping and preliminary engineering done for Pleasant View Estates, which is the Prospect Hill area. and then the Hill Farm Estates, which is over by the hospital, and Eastview. It's kind of encompasses Eastview a little bit, and then the Hill Farm area, and then some of the hospital over in there too. Because once we get some of these other projects built, it's like we're trying to build the momentum to keep these things going, keep some in design, some in construction, some in scoping, those kinds of things. While we are always looking for money to help us with these. We need to do some maintenance on the Stevens and Rugbrook Diversion Canal. I think like 15 or 16 years ago, they redid it. And I think they rebuilt some of the ponds in there, and then they put in a stone weir to help divert the water from going into Stevens Brook to get it to go into Rugbrook. Well, what we've determined now is that there's been so many storms and it's overflowed so many times that rock weir is about 1.5 feet down beneath all the sediment. So we need to go in there and get all that dug out, shoot the grades, dig out the ponds, and just make sure that it's working the way it's intended to work.
And is the city involved in that?
Yes. Yep.
Whereabouts is that canal?
Right when we come out in that field, right?
Yeah,
Off of Nason?
it's behind SB Collins, but
Okay.
between SB Collins and Nason Street.
Yep, okay. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep,
Behind
okay.
where that substation.
Yes, right where the substation is. Yep. So you talked about paving. This is one I could ask some of you about. There's a footbridge that goes across Rugbrook. Who's responsible for that thing? 'Cause
No, Rugbrook or by Gracebrook?
it's by Gricebrook,
That's not.
but it's
Rugbrook.
Stevens Brook. Yeah, it's over Stevens Brook.
That's Gracebrook.
Okay,
Goes across.
whatever brook it is. But there's a bridge that goes across that from Thorpe Avenue. Okay, well, all the abutments are failing and the thing is kind of dangerous right now. Yeah,
Because where bad used to go through before.
yep.
So back when we were really good friends with the city, we had to pull that. So they wouldn't want Gracebrook people going out that way. So we had to take that culvert out. Then the residents was complaining because, you had some wheelchair bound people and those scooter things. They couldn't get over to the hospital or whatever. So we put a footbridge in there. We got permission from, but it happened a long time ago. I would imagine it was probably I wouldn't walk on it now.
So the question is, who's responsible for that? Is that us? Is it the city? Is it Gricebrook? Is it the homeowner right there?
Is it in the town or in the city, first of all? It's in the town.
So it must be
That's right
us.
by the line, I know.
And we built it?
Figure it out.
It's down the municipal culvert. That doesn't mean we're responsible.
Yeah, we can,
Well, that's,
we'll look at it.
well, that's the question. What if somebody,
Some type of-
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
Because we don't own the road.
road's thrown up. Thorpe Avenue.
yeah. So I don't know, there's something for us all to be aware of
Mystery.
at some point.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Back.
Is it utilized?
So,
I don't know.
used to be, and I can ask around. I know some people that were involved back then, get some answers for you. Okay.
It's just the concrete abutments are all getting undermined and it's leaning in and it's kind of twisty and there's trees growing through it and it's not a pretty thing right now.
Check into that.
Building that back to code would be.
I put the culvert back.
What else?
Well, Okay, we can move on from there. So, okay, so that's kind of the DPW update. That's the first item. The next one I want to talk about is we put 7 items out for auction again here recently. We had several poly tanks and stairs that we needed to get rid of. We got $400 for those. That 2006 Challenger tractor, got $30,200 for that. Those fouling boards that were built several years ago, those went for $25. And those old slate chalkboards that were down in the old town hall, I think there was almost 6 or 8 of those. Somebody wanted those for $25 too. Kind of as far as I'm concerned, it's like, it's worth it to have those gone. We sold a Harley rake, the 6-foot long Harley rake, got $3,050 for that. There was a stainless steel table the guys had in the shop that they weren't using. So somebody took that for $270. And then at the old DPW building, the orange building over here, there was 2 of those retractable hose reels that were never, ever going to be used, but I figured they were worth something. We got $160 for those. So total, that's $34,130.
You sell the loader attachment with that Challenger?
We did.
Okay, I didn't see that in pictures.
Yeah, it went with it. It's never been used. It was sitting back.
Here and then it went over there.
Well, I told him to move. I was trying to clean up the area over here, so I had to move it. And now it's going to go with the tractor. And actually, it was bought by somebody local here. So he'll probably just drive it.
Sidearm
The sidearm mower is going with it. Yes, correct. Because we've got the new tractor and the new mower. So we've already got
Yeah,
that.
already got it.
mower, sidearm.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep. So anyway, getting rid of stuff we're not using anymore. I'm sure there's more. Just gotta open our eyes and look around. The next item would be the DPW to-do list. There's all kinds of culverts to replace out there. There's all kinds of ditching that needs to be done. There's all kinds of trees we need to deal with. There is obviously we need to do all the roadside mowing, but we also need to maintain the stormwater ponds that we've taken over as part of our MS4. So we got that new vent track that's going to work for that. We put up a bunch of new signs. We've got an inventory of the signs now. So every time we put up a new sign, they fill out a sheet and we have Kim put it into the inventory so we know where they are, how old they are, when they went in. So talked about that. We still got to get a wetland sign out here on the other side of the building as part of our wetlands permit for this place.
Can I ask a question, Dave?
Yes.
Just highway projects, number 11, SATEC softball.
So last year we were asked by SATEC if we could help them put some drainage in underneath their ball field, the softball field. I told them we'd take a look at it, and we did take a look at it, and that's where I came up with all these thoughts and the data, because I knew if I didn't write it down then, I would forget about it all. So it was something that we were just kind of do as a community, I guess. It's just be digging a couple of ditches and tying in some under drains underneath the field. They're going to have to pay for all the materials, but we would supply the manpower and the equipment. It might be 2 or 3 days at the most, and then we would just tie it into their existing drainage system. That's what I was thinking. I can be told otherwise and not to do it if you'd like. I was just thinking it's part of the school.
I realize it's part. It just, like, we don't do work for private people, and I realize they're part of the community, but they're 2 separate budgets. Like that's, I don't know how everybody else feels, but they hire people all the time to work for them. Like, and I know it's a good thing to do, but like somebody that looks at their budget and they pay for both of, like, I don't know, I'm all for let the school figure it out. Like, I don't think, we got plenty of work to do in the town.
We do have plenty of work to do. That's why it didn't get done last year.
Right, that's why we should be focused. That's why in my past, I'm not directing this at you, but it seems like we do these little projects here, we do this little project here, and then before you know it, the list of stuff that we should have done our hometown starts to grow, not necessarily directing that youth. But, and then we get this long list that we can never get ahead of because we have emergencies or we have this, like, you know what I mean? There's always something that comes up.
Sure.
So I think this is the way I feel. I think we should just stay the course and continue doing what you're doing and knocking that big, long list down. And not, I mean, that's the way I feel, but I'm just one member.
And I've already done pretty much the design for them and given the details. And now it's just a matter of going out there and pointing and saying, or going out there and overseeing what they do. So if,
Yeah, I'm for it. That field is totally unusable when it's wet. So it's like the school doesn't even have fields because they have to go somewhere else because they can't use them. So if we can help out and
Yeah,
they can pay for the materials, I'm for it.
it would, well, the original plan was just to do the softball field and just put drainage underneath the infield. It's not doing anything else. But I will do what you guys want me to do, or not do what you want me to do.
Seems like that's fairly involved, man. Like, what's the time, what would the time
I was thinking 3 or 4 days.
gonna kill a week of your summer?
It could. That's kind of why I put it on the list, because I wanted to chat with you guys about it.
Ultimately, I think it's a decision for the town manager to make. But I don't think we ever talked about that at budget time. I know the ball field play that we were supposed to dump off, and I think I questioned why we were doing something at the town school, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like I questioned it and I heard it was like, we gave them ball field play. Now we're dipping into digging ground up there. I mean, they got somebody working out in the back. They can feel free to reach out to them and keep digging forward. That's just my opinion. By the time we bring equipment up there, that's just my take on it. Their budget's $80 million. If they can't come up with 20, 30, 10 grand, I mean, they should plan better. I don't see how that should fall on the town and take away from your budget.
Plus, you're a stamped engineer, so you technically could just give
I mean,
plans
if
and have
you
them.
want to, I'm fine with like giving them free, like some free engineering,
Yeah.
like if it's pretty minimal, but
Yeah.
to get our equipment up there and then to like, now we're involved, like, we don't do that, we came out and said that we're not going to go across somebody's property to do a ditch or to do some stuff. I don't see this as any different. Like, it's not part of the town of St. Albans. Now, if you would have said that 20 years ago when
We
this
used to plow
wasn't
their
all
parking.
one.
Yeah,
And, just got so involved with the state tech expanded that just said you gotta hire it done because we weren't getting our stuff done with plowing because they did that first.
Yeah.
Where the buses.
Okay, because I remember in the consulting world, if you lose an hour of time, it really costs you 3 hours. Because you're doing something you weren't supposed to do. And you're losing that hour doing what you were supposed to do. And then the hour you're doing what you were supposed to do, you should have been doing something else. You know what I mean? So it really costs you, instead of 3 or 4 days, it might cost us 9 or 12.
Well, it looks like you have a pretty heavy lift this summer already.
And this is a growing list. I mean, it always,
yeah, we'll never get ahead. Or,
We ain't off the first page. yet.
I know.
The town school is kind of its own entity.
Right,
Mhm.
it's
Like
separate-
they operate as a
separate
business,
municipality.
really. I mean, they use our tax money to fund it, but it's a big business. They have employees, they produce output, students.
Right.
they
I
have,
mean, like
What do they
no
get?
other nonprofit, if the hospital called their nonprofit and they wanted us to go fix something in their backyard, I don't think we would do it. I don't even know where we would have authorization to do that. And I don't think the town school is really any different than that. I don't. I mean, it'll look good politically. It'll look great if we donate a bunch of stuff to them, but if you guys were sitting around and had time, but I don't see where that's the situation. So
Yeah,
it's
that-
gonna fall off our plate if we take
Yeah.
a week.
Yes, that's not the situation. Like I told the guys, all you have to do is open your eyes. There's always something to do out there.
But I think it's, like John said, probably your call. I mean, authorize that stuff, but seems like you're busy.
I think that's why it was never moved up the list. Just kind of
I got another.
if we had time.
Number 9. road cuts by Vermont Gas need to be repaired.
Yep.
We had a policy where they would be cutting roads, they were gonna bore.
So these were putting in valves and their line is like underneath the road. These are both, one's on, well, actually, they're both on Brigham Road and one's on Pearl Street. So one of them is on Brigham, right? If you're going north, right before you turn right onto Pearl Street, there's one right in there that is settled after they fixed it. And then there's another one a little bit further down the road. So I'm gonna have them come back and fix those. And then there's another one that they did on Pearl Street as part of. No, that's because they were cutting in a valve on both of those.
Under the road?
It's not completely under the road, it's on the edge of the road.
Yeah, but you gotta.
So they needed room, yeah. So they needed room to actually get in there and get their valves in and their tools and stuff. So it wasn't like a road cut all the way across the road. It's just on the edge. Yeah,
They call that clunker driving over.
yes. Well,
it's
it's,
not as bad as the one up Pearl Street in the city. That's an oil panner.
well, there's also, there's two areas also on Brigham Road that somebody was doing a water project. One of them, they cut all the way across. And that's just, there's a valve in the middle of the road. I have no idea. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's old. And then there's another one further to the north, which is, it's just like another cut of half of the road. But man, you hit those things and you know it. So we need to go out and fix those. I don't know who to go to fix those. I was gonna have the city involved. They probably didn't do it. It's probably some contractor that was doing the work for them.
Digging across the road and throwing the stuff back in the hole and the next spring,
Yep,
we have all over the place.
that's right. Or compaction when they put it back in. Proper compaction would be okay, but most people don't do that.
You still ask if they can have the road.
They do. It kind of depends on what they're doing. If they have to do it, okay. You know, if it's like for a service line, most of the times they can't, if it is a service line, a lot of times Vermont Gas can bore underneath the road. But it's these valves when they put them in, they need room to get in there and work. I've got pictures of those two on Brigham Road when they went in. 'Cause I told the guys to take pictures of everything. Yeah. Yeah, you cut a road and it's never the same. Let's see. Oh, the bridge maintenance, I got to make sure they keep up on the bridge maintenance. And that's just kind of washing and patching the roads or the bridges and the decks every year. I know V-Trans does inspections of these, the bridges that we have I think it's like every 5 years, something like that. And they identify some things that might need to be done. I know we got some stone that we need to put around some abutments and some of these, like the one on Dunsmore and then Black Bridge too.
Being around the abutments.
Yeah. Because the water will flow down around the sides and then it works its way and then it takes soil and you just got to make sure the stone stays in there. Keep it from eroding out. Or just keep an eye on it and make sure the stone is good and fix it when it's first noticed.
Would you have to get a permit to do that? Like to put the stone in near
In the water?
Jewett Brook? They don't have a panic attack over.
For these bridges, we wouldn't.
Okay.
Depends on what we were doing, I guess. If we're actually working in a stream, yes, then we got to talk to the state's river engineer. Just like that Stevens and Rugg Brook, I've already talked to them and we've got permission to dig out Stevens Brook there if we need to lower it. It's gonna be messy in there, but.
You suggested to the state of Vermont about lowering the brook and they said, okay.
Yeah, only because everything has come up.
Well,
And if the
yeah,
thing is
so
gonna
they-
work the way it's supposed to, we gotta, yeah.
I'm impressed.
Well, the river engineer lives in town. And and I used to carpool with him, so I know him very well. And he understands what we're trying to do and how to do it. Yes. So. There's some parks and rec stuff. So I think we mentioned that we were out with Jack looking at some of the trees. So we got to cut some trees in some of the parks. Also we need to do some work on the stone steps out there. You guys have probably seen the stone steps and how bad they are. We just, there's an email from, I don't know, 5 years ago or something, where we've got pretty much authorization to go ahead and get somebody like a stone mason or something, but the steps we put in there have to pretty much look like the ones that are there now. We can't just go in there and dig it out and put in concrete steps. It's got to be some kind of concrete with the stone aggregate in there that's visible. And they go down to the beach. Yeah, there's 5 sets of those that go down to the beach.
Ramp it.
For the ice fishing, wheelchairs, and we were almost there. I think we had cement coming. And somebody bad this out in the street.
Probably saved you a lot, Jack.
I also want to reset that gate at the Bay Dock. You've probably seen that. It's bolted to a couple of well tiles that just aren't structurally strong enough to hold a gate. So we just need to drive some posts in there. We can do that. And then, when I first started here, I thought that we might be having some what's called I&I, inflow and infiltration, going into the north end sewer station, pump station up there. So we just haven't had time to do some dye tests and see if we can identify where the inflow is coming from. So. Let's see, and we got a bunch of turnarounds that we need to work on and get some easements for. The guys have already been working on some of those. For the plow trucks, when we're plowing, we need to have some places where we can turn around, and it's just a good idea to have easements for those. The top of Congress Street, I don't know if you've been up there and noticed that, when they put the sidewalk in up there, the sidewalk went in too high, in my opinion, and so now the stormwater just runs down the short or skinny little green belt there, and it takes out the grass and it's eroded everything and it's destroying the road. So we need to do something besides just pave it and let it happen some more. So we might have, some of the options are we can put in some catch basins up there and try and catch it so it doesn't stay. We could try to stone it. Well, no, because it'll still sit there underneath the stone and get underneath the road. And that's the issue with it. Either the road needs to go higher, or we need to take out that sidewalk and drop it lower, or we need to put in some catch basins to try and catch it and get it to go underneath the road into the ditch that's already there that doesn't have any water in it because it's all coming down the other side sidewalk. So
They both sound expensive.
yes. I mean, those. Do you want me to say on TV? Yeah, so,
Was it you, Dave?
no,
No.
that was before
Just
me.
kidding. Yeah. Where is it worse, Dave? I'm just thinking at the top of the hill toward the west, or is it
It's-
worse as we
it's-
go down
Yeah,
toward?
it's worse. It's
Fisher
worse
Pond?
between Eastview and 105,
Okay,
or is that 104?
10.
1 or whatever it is.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 104. So Fisher. Pond,
Because,
right.
because that's where it gets a little flatter and the water tends to sit in there, and then it freezes and pushes up the edge of the road.
So is it bad where the sidewalk is, or after as it goes down to that
It's-
flat area?
Yes, it's bad where the sidewalk is, especially on the flatter side.
Yeah, okay.
So. think I already talked about those stormwater projects. Any questions on the projects? Anything else you see out there that,
We won't mention. At this point, I think you ain't gonna get all this done.
well, that's kind of the idea is that, every year you got to have more than you can get done, right? And you just got to keep working at it. Slow and steady wins the race. So the next thing to look at would be the stormwater management plan. And this is all part of the MS4. There's 6 what they call minimum control measures that we have to kind of keep working on all the time. And I'll just briefly talk about those. The first 2 have to do with public education and outreach and public involvement and participation. And for that, we partner with the Northwest Regional Planning Commission, and they pretty much take care of that. They manage their website. We have our own website, and they do webinars and they do trainings. They do, rain barrel workshops and rain garden workshops, those kinds of things. And then this summer, they're going to have another, what they call water quality story time, something like that. They did one of those a couple of years ago. And
Kilcare.
what
Out
that,
at Kilcare.
it was at the Bay a couple of years ago. Yep. And that's where this one will be too, the Bay Park.
That was last year.
Was it just last year?
It's one at Kilcare because I did a farm one.
Okay. Maybe we'll get you to come talk too.
Yeah. You come out of town.
Then we have to do what's called illicit discharge detection and elimination. That's really just keeping our eyes open to see if there's any discharges out there. When EIV was still on board, I had them go around to the outfalls and they had a little vial. They would collect samples and look at them, and you just kind of give it a quick look. Do you see anything that might be oily or, like hydrocarbons, whatever, and you can smell it, whatever. Really, the only place I saw anything was over by the shopping center, Highgate Commons. And there's a pipe that's kind of dripping out some rusty stuff. And I don't know if it's just rust from the pipe or what it is. But we haven't had time to try and track that down and correct that. But anyway, we try and keep on top of that. The next one is construction site stormwater runoff. We definitely, on our projects, we make sure that we don't have any runoff leaving our sites, so we're not losing any sediment, soil, whatever. It's all about keeping a clean site. And then we review all the developments that come in that AJ and Megan go through and approve. And we look at stormwater issues and make sure that the stormwater is getting managed properly. And then under construction, we even go out and make sure that we're not losing any sediment and that it's running right out into the lake. So then we have to report on all this at the end of the year. And
Can I just ask a quick nuts and bolts question?
yeah,
Front page, top page says 2023, and then throughout the document, it's listed January 23rd, 2019.
yeah. So I know what your question is. The original document was prepared in 2019
Okay.
and we had to update it in 2023.
Okay.
So we decided we would just keep the original date on there, but we would put the revised date down
Gotcha.
below.
And then,
Maybe that's not the right way to do it. I don't know.
no, I think that makes sense. The other thing, just the page numbers at the bottom. And it looks like the original must have had 11 pages and then we added 5.
Oh, yeah, it does, doesn't it? No, we'll fix all this.
Page 16 of 11.
Yep.
That's all, just.
It's the
okay,
invisible
that's why
page.
that makes sense, being that it was an original and then an update, so I see.
Okay. Yep, we'll take care of that. And then the last one is just pollution prevention, good housekeeping for our operations. Like I said, we keep a clean shop out there. We keep everything clean inside. We've got the drains inside that get full of sediment and salt and stuff. We've got an oil water separator that we keep cleaned out. And we've got our own stormwater pond out at the shops. We make sure that one stays clear. And then, like I said before, we try and keep an eye on all the construction projects going around town, and we get certain ones we get a lot of phone calls on. But most people will work with us on that. So have you had enough yet?
Put them other two to sleep.
Or them out.
Okay, it's enough.
Dave's still here.
He's a guy. He must be happy.
So the next item would be the winter operations guidelines. So we had a 2-page policy before. So, I took a look at that and I kind of incorporated some stuff that I knew from the past, and I got a larger document here. But it just kind of it's a guideline. It's not a policy, because policies you have to stick to, right? Sometimes with plowing, you can't actually stick to things. You have to kind of go with the flow, right? So that's why I changed the name to a guideline. And it's just kind of how we operate to make sure the guys know they need to do their inspections on their trucks. And I think I've even got something in here that says at the end of the year, we'll clean off our plows and repaint them. Yes, so that they last longer.
This is taking the place of the old policy.
This will take the place of the old policy, correct? Yep.
Think there.
Yeah, when I first started here a couple of years ago, those plows looked like crap. Just all rusting out and everything. So I said, hey, guys, clean those up and get some new paint on them. And it's like, wow, look at this. Looks really good. And they were impressed with themselves after doing that. So anyway, I think the highway guys, they like the work they're doing. They're getting work done. They're seeing that they're getting work done. We do get a fair amount of compliments on the stuff that we're doing. We had one just this morning, I guess, from some tree stuff that we were doing over on High Street. So there is a section in here about mailboxes. Mailboxes are always the issue, right? But the way I've always wanted to deal with the mailbox is if we hit it, we'll replace it.
But you're not obligated to.
But we're not obligated to. And if it was installed correctly too. Because some of them don't get installed correctly and our plows will hit them because of that.
The plow itself, the snow.
Yeah, a lot of times, I did some research several years ago and I found a document that said the snow could come off of a plow at about 90 miles an hour. So just think of what that can do to a mailbox. And so if it's a big, heavy, wet snow, we may not be hitting them, but the snow is taking them out. And we're not going to fix that. Usually somebody will call us right away and we can go out and determine if it was us or if it was the snow or if it was somebody else. There was an instance this year where somebody else took out a mailbox and there was tire tracks. Somebody had backed across the road and hit it. And, they immediately call us, oh, you guys hit our mailbox. And we go out there and it's like, no, we didn't. And here's the proof. So. But anyway, we put in a couple of drawings to show people how their mailboxes should be installed.
Did you get clearance from the post office lady about that? Because she's picky about certain things about a mailbox.
Well, this one is from the post office website.
Well, I'm just saying, I get the nasty thing in my mailbox every now and again. You need to raise it 2 inches, drop it 2 inches, move it back, whatever.
Oh, really?
They're particular. They can be.
Yeah,
No,
that's why it's got the picture of the post office truck on there. Is
Put
'cause
that in the mailbox
it-
for her.
Yes, it came off of their website. So,
These are the rules.
and this other one is a drawing that says essentially the same thing, but it's a little easier to
Yeah,
read.
no, it's super helpful.
Yeah, so. So anyway, and it also has got a list of contacts that people can call. It's got a list of the salt companies that we can call. I mean, we've got the one that we use that comes out of Canada. There was a period of time there where they couldn't get across the border or whatever, for reasons we all understand, but now they were getting back. So we did end up getting a couple loads from them. But we're all set for the rest of this year. And, but if they were ever to run out or we were to run out, couldn't get it from them, there's other companies in here that we could call to try and get some. So I know it was like 4 or 5 years ago, everybody was running out of salt, right? And the state was taking all of it and not letting the municipalities have any. So that kind of got scary for a bit, but at least there's several contacts there. And there's also the list of the vehicles we've got to do the work. And we've got it set up to where we can, we've got 6 drivers and we got John as a backup driver. If we got 6 plow routes. If something goes wrong and one of the trucks goes down, we can still get the roads done in a reasonable amount of time with 5 routes. Or the one guy will pick up the rest. So yeah, and if we're missing a guy, John fills in. If we're missing a truck, we'll still be okay. So I think we're in a good spot. Things have been going well the last couple of years. Guys have been keeping up on top of it, so. So unless you have any questions on that, I think that's all I had to say. It was a long time.
Well, it does replace the policy. So, yeah,
But it's not a policy.
That's correct. It's a guideline. Well, we can make it a policy if you want to.
so we removing the road, the winter road guide policy.
That would be my suggestion.
That's why I asked if it was replacing it, because it expands upon it and includes it in it. So we're removing the winter roads policy, and that's that. So this is just guidelines and it's not policy.
You're saying, just for clarification, policy is something we have to do and guideline is not. Is there a way to make it a policy, just change the language or things are
We don't want to make it a policy.
will
because we
or
want it
could?
fluid.
Yeah. But. So would approving it be a problem if it's just a guideline?
It would need, you would be, make a motion to remove the other policy and then not replace it, but we just have these guidelines internally. Except that there's also external guidelines in it, like mailboxes. That's why I thought it was gonna be a policy,
Should we separate that?
like split it up.
Because if you want that one part of it to be somewhat fluid, but you want
Yeah,
the mailbox thing to be, if somebody calls
Yeah.
and be like,
that's
they can
why.
say, well, it's just a guideline.
Yeah.
Right, that's true.
So if you
Yeah,
add a
that's what I was-
mailbox policy, say.
Yeah,
That's what I was wondering, what, are we supposed to make a
Yeah.
motion and approve this as the new policy then?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, because you could change the language on things to be, some will say will, like the mailbox, you will have to follow these recommendations, and other
Yeah.
things could be, we
May.
may, you
Yeah.
know, I mean, just to,
Yeah,
But if
Then it
it's
could
a
still be a-
guideline, then it's doesn't really matter.
what's it, I mean, if we put
Policy
you
or-
may,
But you gotta keep no backup if somebody's.
Because we always get those
Name
one or
it on
two
Dave,
one
he's
offs
gotta
a
have
year
to-
that like to think we own a mailbox.
right.
or we take out of this expanded version what we'd like to be policy and just add that to the existing policy at the next meeting. And then have the rest of it as a guideline. Because there's stuff in this that we'd like to have as policy. Correct?
Okay, yes.
Okay,
We'll work through
Yes,
it, bring
that's-
it back.
Yeah.
We don't.
Yeah,
yeah.
it-
Thankfully,
it's-
winter's almost over,
It's
so.
still gonna snow for a couple more days.
Yeah.
I think it's still.
I
on
think it's
Wednesday.
really, I think it's really, really well done,
Yeah,
It is.
and
yeah.
it's thorough,
it
and
is.
anybody could pick up the pieces and run with this.
Yep.
And without skipping a beat. And I don't know if you could just change, like, is there a way just to word something? Like, if we did away with the existing policy, made this a guideline and say, except for where there's already a policy, which would be the mailbox.
Yeah.
This is what we're going, with. There's some, instead of like re-architect, like going in and changing all the wheels to maze and this and
Yeah.
that, just like,
That's what I said, rather.
I don't know, whatever you gotta do. I think it's
is
super helpful.
They'll
Okay,
figure
thank you.
You can still leave the mailbox thing in the guideline.
Right.
But have a separate policy for mailbox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mailbox.
We'll figure
I
it
think this thing done really well.
out. It is.
Thanks.
fun read.
Yeah, what?
Yeah.
I actually like read this. I'm like, wow. That's how they do that.
Perfect.
Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah.
Welcome.
I see that.
So. Oh, I'll let you finish.
So the next is a policy, or an update to a policy. Thank you, Dave. It's really just, we just cleaned up the Bay Park Memorial and Community Gifts policy. Some of it was just simple, again, just cleaning up, and really the big nuts and bolts changes were some of the actual items. Because they weren't even being offered anymore by the companies. We just had it on there. So we just kind of removed it. And this, what we have left is also kind of more, like, use the word like uniform. So it's, the park will be more, the benches will be more in unison. And also updated prices, because if somebody bought a bench for the price we listed, we would have been upside down on the bench. So, yeah. And that's
Need a
it.
motion for that?
Yes.
Somebody make a motion to approve the Bay Park Memorial and Community Gifts Policy as was in your packet. So moved. Thank you.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
And there's an Act 250, Mr. Malone's property in Franklin Park West. Just informational only. That is what's public knowledge now, the Starbucks, it'll be on the corner there. And finally, this is the first time we're talking about it publicly. But I know the newspaper will be doing a little piece about it. We're kind of doing a rebranding, or we're changing Brewfest. We're not doing Brewfest this year, and we're having something, more of a community event called Bash at the Bay. That's what we're calling it. So it's gonna be more family, geared towards family. There's gonna be a lot of carnival games, cornhole, human or life-size Jenga, stuff like that.
Dunk the select board member?
Hmm? Yeah,
Dunk
there
the
will be a
select-
dunk, there will be a dunk tank, I think at Bay Day.
I'll do it.
Bay Day.
Hey, I'll do it.
That's chairs.
The dunk tank, yeah, that's for the chair.
What's
yeah.
it called again, Sean?
Bash at the
Bash,
Bay.
bash the
Bash
bay?
at-
Bash at the Bay.
Bash at the
No, not bash.
Bash.
I thought we
That's
said
why I was
bash the bay.
confused.
No.
Everyone's gonna
yeah.
come down and dump phosphorus in the lake?
No.
Gotcha, okay.
So, and it's headlined by the band Rushmore, so that'll be the concert there, so it's August 9th, Saturday, August 9th, 4:30 to 7:30. And we're rolling out new sponsorship tiers and benefits this year, and those will also be soon in the article in the Messenger, either later this week or next week, so.
I don't know if it's too late or not, but the city just put out a little flyer.
Yep,
Like
we're working on that.
hard-sided,
Yeah,
like hot double, that shows like their events in the park, plus
Mhm.
the bands on the other side.
yep, we're working,
Something.
we have most of it ready, but we have to obviously change the logo for Brewfest to Bash the Bay, so she's working on that right now. That should be out soon, just say that. Yeah. And that is my report.
Okay, so we have that rules of procedure sitting in front of me again. It wasn't on the,
That's, you already agreed to it, you just.
oh, we did.
Yeah, yeah.
I saw the
Okay.
language.
It's just for signature, Jonathan.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
This not bothered me, but just one thing that I think we should do, the sign out front on the beam.
On the
Way up
building.
On the
Oh,
building.
okay,
Can we get that to say ST dot Albans?
sure we can.
Because it's, everything we do says ST Albans, ST period.
I think our charter is St. Albans abbreviated, correct?
Yeah,
And like, that's just the one thing that's off,
yeah,
like all of our branding says, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just-
I was corrected on that early on in my tenure, yeah.
It just, if we can get that addressed at some point, see how much it cut, like if it's
Yeah,
relatively.
Because we just have to recenter it and do that. Yeah,
Well, you have to get rid of the AI.
yeah,
It's insane,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
like it just
Yeah.
really, just so it's all the same. And are we working on the signs that like when you come in from another town?
Yes, we are.
The wayfinding sign?
Just a welcome to the town of St. Albans. It's got the old logo. I think there's 5 of them in the town.
Yeah, so that's getting
Mhm.
addressed too, okay, cause I know we talked about that a
Yeah,
while ago, when you moved.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
Perfect. That's all I had. Anybody else have any other?
Executive session, contractual.
Good. The next select board meeting is Monday, April 21st and Monday, May 5th, both starting at 6:30. Would someone like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss a contractual matter where premature general public knowledge of the subject matter would place the town or persons involved at a substantial disadvantage? Further move to enter into executive session to discuss a contractual matter under provisions of Title I, Section 313A1 of Vermont statutes, and to invite the town manager, Sean Atkins, and Director of Operations, Al Bojel. So moved. All in favor?
Aye.
Recording stopped.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.